Sean.
Can I just follow up on you mentioned on NATO, and Deputy Secretary Sherman also mentioned with Ukraine that there's the open door policy and that no country can dictate. But what's the U.S. position now on whether Ukraine should be a member of NATO? That's been an issue that's been going on for some years. What's the position at this point?
Our position on this has not changed. NATO has an open door policy. Any country that aspires to join NATO should be able to do so. We are a partner to Ukraine. We, of course, engage with them regularly, but our position on this has not changed, and it's consistent with NATO's open door policy.
Really? So wait a second. Does that mean Madagascar is okay to?
Matt,
any country at all? Peru?
The NATO charter spells out the requirements here.
Yeah. I mean, shouldn't it have at least some relevance to the actual, founding document?
I will leave it to the founding charter to speak to those requirements. But yes.
About the leverage that you're talking
Sure.
about when you say, presumably this is not new leverage. This is leverage that has been around for some time. It didn't just appear magically over the course of the last year. So where was it with Crimea? Where was it with South Ossetia and Abkhazia? Where was it? And if it's been used, it certainly hasn't had any impact. So why do you think it'll have any impact now?
Well, I would distinguish what we're seeing now from what we've seen in the past in a couple different ways. One, there's a very simple point that we've made repeatedly now, that the types of measures that are on the table that have firm support from our European allies and our partners as well, these are measures that we intentionally have not pursued in the past.
Okay, well, I guess my question is, if this is that serious, and if Crimea was the beginning, if Georgia and Abkhazia and South Ossetia, back in 2007, 8, were the beginnings of this and are just as serious as what's going on now, if not more, because they actually did move in, why didn't you use them then? And the punishment, the sanctions that were imposed afterwards clearly haven't made any difference. So why do you think that this leverage that you claim to have is actually going to have any impact?
A couple points. One, it's difficult for me to speak to past administrations. I'm speaking for this administration, and I will tell you that this administration has put on the table, and we have heard broad and strong consensus from our allies and partners that they are behind this. We have put on the table measures that previous administrations have not pursued, and have not pursued.
2014, when you were at the NSC, why didn't you pursue these measures after the annexation of Crimea?
2014 and 2021, there are some key differences here.
7 years.
There are some key differences. One of them is that we are now in January. We're now in 2022. We have been speaking about this since November of 2021. And this is about more than public messaging. This is about deterrence. This is about making very clear to Moscow that we know what they're up to, we're concerned about it, and we are prepared as an alliance, as a transatlantic community, to take these steps that would have massive consequences for the Russian economy. We were not, the Obama-Biden administration was not in a position to do that in 2014.
Well, but if you saw the danger, what you see now or claim is the danger, and that the whole international system is at risk, why didn't you then? And not
again, Matt, it is difficult for me to speak to previous administrations. It's difficult enough for me to come out here every day and.
Is it because the Europeans wouldn't cooperate with the sanctions, and are you worried about that this time?
So I will take the second part of that question, because again, this is not about history. This is not about previous administrations. This is about what we're doing, what we're seeing right now. We have heard very firmly in our in-person consultations, in the calls that the secretary, that the president, that others have undertaken, the deputy secretary now in her consultations, in the virtual engagements that we've had with NATO, with the EU, with the G7, which was in person last month. We have heard a very strong consensus that our European allies are very much behind this. You have seen the statements that have come out from NATO, the statements that have come out from the European Council, the statement that came out from the G7. And all of these statements came out within a series of days. And as has been pointed out in some of the coverage, some of what all of you have written, the language in all of these statements, in addition to what have emanated from the United States, they're strikingly similar, if not identical. And so I think that speaks to the level of agreement, the level of strong consensus. There should be no doubt, and certainly there should be no doubt if you're sitting in Moscow, that the transatlantic community is prepared to take these strong, decisive measures that we hope to be able to avoid. It's not our preferred course. Our preferred course is diplomacy. Our preferred course is dialogue. Our preferred outcome is de-escalation. But it would be irresponsible of us not to prepare for all contingencies. And that's why you've seen us so focused on deterrence and defense, just as we test the proposition that diplomacy and dialogue is a viable means to achieve de-escalation. Andrea.